Hyper Beats. Hyper Beats. Hyper Beats.
All right, and what is going on, everyone? It is the boys here from across the plane. My name is Will. You can find me on Instagram at mpls_outdoors. We are part of a full-length all sports podcast. You can check that out. There's a link to the Spotify below. And as always, hit subscribe, hit the bell. We go live once or twice a week, putting out 2 to 3 fantasy videos. We're going to be premiering our fantasy rankings tonight. Above me is
Jake the Rookie, and that's THA, like across the plane. And yeah, this is our weekly ranking show for fantasy football. Here to help you kind of get our perspective of how the week's gonna turn out.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, this is being streamed Thursday evening before the Green Bay San Francisco game. So we are still waiting.
A lot of Rona in that game.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of COVID-19 affecting that. We're still waiting. There's a lot of big injuries that we're going to talk briefly about that are going to be affected into the week. So check out Sunday. We'll have updated rankings for that. So this is as of Thursday. Keep that in mind. Going into the week, we got some injuries. Aaron Jones, game time decision. Looks like he's trending up. Looks like he's trending towards playing limited. So I think we have him ranked based on that. But just take caution with Aaron Jones. But again, he's Aaron Jones. So if you got him and he's suiting up, he's probably healthy.
I mean,
we're not probably
not healthy.
Sorry, not healthy. He's going to be a start. Chris Carson, game time decision, so definitely keep an eye out on that. Right now we have him ranked, and then we talked about DJ Dallas in the preview show. DJ Dallas is going to shoot up the rankings if Chris Carson's a sit, but right now we have Chris Carson ranked as if he's playing. Myles Gaskin ruled out for 3 weeks. He's going on IR. Calvin Ridley, he's got that foot sprain he's dealing with. He did not practice, so keep an eye on that. Still looks like he might play, but could be limited because of that. A big one is Matt Stafford for the Lions. He was placed. He's not able to practice all week, and he was placed on the COVID reserve list, but not because he tested positive, because he was in close contact with someone that tested positive. So I think there's definitely a good chance of him playing. And then Jamal Williams, Brandon Ayuk, they've been ruled out as well with the COVID on the COVID reserve list. And then Matt Breida did not practice on Wednesday. So things to keep an eye out. But again, it's just a tough year for injuries. We have constantly been having to make adjustments, and it's going to be another tough week 9.
Yeah, just very makes for a very interesting fantasy football. Yeah, just a lot of injuries, and the buys this week are the Bengals, the Browns, the Eagles, and the Rams. So a few fantasy relevant players on those teams. But if you have anybody on those teams, you're probably just glad they're resting. And yeah. Not because everybody who you have starting on that team probably had a Q next to their name.
Yeah, definitely. And as a Nick Chubb owner, I can say this for myself. We are eagerly awaiting the Week 10 possible return of Nick Chubb, but we will get to next week. Let's get into these rankings here. Just kicking off the QB rankings. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's just incredible. What can we say?
Yeah.
5 touchdowns last week against the Jets. He had like a bowling ball. It looked like he was throwing a bowling ball. He threw that touchdown to Kelsey. But expecting... Yeah, I mean, going forward, I don't see it's going to be hard to see a week where this isn't going to be number 1 and number 2 in Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson on pace for the MVP award, I think. Obviously Patrick Mahomes could make a run for it at any time. But if Russell Wilson keeps this up, I think it's time he gets one.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely deserving of MVP votes.
Yeah, and those top 2 are locked in for sure. So moving on from that, Aaron Rodgers, tonight, I think he has a good matchup against San Francisco. And the running game might not be there, so expect Aaron Rodgers to have to do a lot.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like going to be a game like maybe closer to what we saw in Minnesota, where he might not have the huge yardage totals, but I think he's going to have a bunch of touchdowns. And again, I think just with Jimmy Garoppolo out, George Kittle out, all the pass catchers out, Kendrick Bourne, Brandon Ayuk, that offense is going to have a tough time staying on the field, and I think it's going to lead to, again, a lot of Aaron Rodgers. So, and I think, at least for me, I think Aaron Rodgers is the type of player who likes to play with a chip on his shoulder, likes to have a little bit of revenge, and he lost last week against Minnesota and did not play well to his standards. So Aaron Rodgers, number 3. Number 4, Deshaun Watson, kind of the same situation. Again, he's expected. They're coming off of a bye. Expecting just a bunch of touchdowns. Jacksonville's without their starting quarterback. That's just going to be a bad for their offense. So expect a lot of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Jacksonville's defense hasn't been terrific either, and Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson. We already know what he can do and put up. I like him this week.
Yep. Next up, number 5. We had Justin Herbert all the way at number 4 last week, and we feel good about Justin Herbert going forward. We've been high on him all season. He has now thrown at least 3 touchdowns 4 weeks in a row, and it's another favorable matchup at home against the Rams. He's been throwing the ball 40 times a game. He takes deep shots. He has good weapons, and he has rushing potential too. So
Yeah, it looks like he has the reins of that team. He's looking great. Like him against the Raiders defense is not good. And next up is Kyler Murray at Miami. And Kyler Murray's been fantastic this year, and he's always got that rushing upside. And is an obvious start.
yeah, he's got the big weapons. Tom Brady versus New Orleans. That's going to be the Sunday night game. He just has so many weapons there. Chris Godwin, we're monitoring that injury going forward. He's practiced, but wasn't catching balls. He had a cast on his hand, so they said they're not going to know until Friday if he's going to be able to catch balls. So keep an eye on that. But Tom Brady, again, gets Antonio Brown this week, building up a connection with Gronkowski, and they're just rolling over there in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Josh Allen's next. Seattle's got a bad defense. I know Josh Allen hasn't been good lately, but I expect him to have a productive week this week.
Yeah, and, I'm sitting Josh Allen for Aaron Rodgers. And Josh Allen, if you're a Josh Allen owner, you kind of need him to have a good week this week. It's a favorable matchup. His receivers are healthy. He has good weapons. He really needs to pick it up this week, and I think he can do it. So we got Josh Allen there at number 8.
Yep, and then Ben Roethlisberger at Dallas. Dallas defense terrible. Ben Roethlisberger is safe start. Derek Carr at Los Angeles Chargers, same situation. Not a great defense. And then we have Lamar Jackson at 11. That's probably the lowest we've had him all year.
It's a tough matchup going on the road at Indianapolis. And they run the ball a lot, and I expect to see a lot of Gus Edwards, a lot of J.K. Dobbins, and it's just going to be tough for Lamar Jackson. I just don't see him. It's tough to sit him, but again, we have Derek Carr as our number 1 streaming play. We expect a lot of points in that Chargers Chargers Las Vegas game. So I think if you're a Lamar Jackson owner, I would have hoped. We told you a couple weeks ago, look other places, and I think you could again. Like I'd much rather have Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is a safe floor for 3 touchdowns this week. Lamar Jackson against Indianapolis, we really don't know what's going to turn out to be.
Yeah, I agree. Are you muted?
Nope. Next up, Matt Ryan versus Denver. The Falcons are just an offense that's really tough to figure out, but Julio Jones is healthy. And again, Todd Gurley's been getting the bulk of the touchdowns lately, and we expect Todd Gurley to fall in the end zone again this week, but I think Matt Ryan can still get you a couple of touchdowns, and we'll see some points scored in that Denver game.
Yeah, it's Matt Ryan and the Falcons, so expect some points. Ryan Tannehill versus Chicago. I think it'll be one of his tougher matchups this year, but I still would see him as a streaming option.
Yeah, I think they played pretty poorly last week. It is a tough matchup, but they played poorly last week. I think he does perform better, and so we got him right outside the top 12 there. Number 14, Matt Stafford. We talked about that earlier. He is on the COVID reserve list, so even if he does play, he does not get to practice. We're going to assume that he had a negative test result, looks like today, so we're going to assume he keeps getting those negative test results and ends up playing. Minnesota is obviously just a terrible defense, banged up secondary, and they're without their top pass catcher in Kenny Galladay, but I think Marvin Jones, Marvin Hall, Danny Amendola, and TJ Hawkinson just step up, and Matt Stafford, 14, see a couple of touchdowns out of him.
Yeah, we'll see. Minnesota did decent against Aaron Rodgers last week didn't he didn't have a terrific game,
Yeah.
or they didn't win. They didn't win, but that was a lot to do with the offense. But yeah, I think Matthew Stafford still has potential to have a multi-touchdown game.
Yep. Next up, this is the highest he's been ranked all season. He was our number 2 streaming quarterback. We talked about Drew Lock at Atlanta. Atlanta's been one of the worst teams against quarterbacks in fantasy. I think we can expect some points in this. Drew Lock had 19 points last week against the Chargers. I think he can get you over 18 points and be in that start category again as a quarterback for me.
Yeah, I think he could even outperform his number 15 rank and end up a top 10 play this week.
I agree with you. I think he has a lot of upside there at Atlanta. He has a lot of pass catching weapons there. Kirk Cousins versus Detroit, number 16. We ran the ball a lot. We're going to expect to see a lot of Dalvin Cook, but I think we do see a little bit more Kirk Cousins in this game than we did against Green Bay.
Yeah, I hate including Kirk Cousins in any of these lists, but you know what? Around 16, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to tell you to start Kirk Cousins, but he's at 16. There you have
it. Teddy Bridgewater at Kansas City, and he's been okay as of late. We were hoping he would perform a little bit more. He had the injury against Atlanta, but hoping Teddy Bridgewater gets back in track. We got him at 17 at Kansas City. Number 18, Drew Brees at Tampa Bay. We don't know what's going on with Michael Thomas. Looks like this might be the first time he's going to suit up, but he has that hamstring injury. Tampa Bay has.
I'm also seeing Drew Brees' shoulder.
Yep.
So I'm assuming he's going to play. It's his last season. I don't think he'll sit out, especially a division game. But just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we've talked about it all season. Temper expectations for Drew Brees. There's a lot of plays where there's much higher upside. Cam Newton there at 19. I think he can definitely outperform this. It's just he has not thrown a touchdown in a couple of weeks now. And
the turnovers.
Yeah, the turnovers. And let's not forget that Josh Allen also failed to score a touchdown against the Jets. So obviously the Patriots are not
rushing upside.
Yeah, the Patriots are not the Chiefs, but temper expectations for Cam's. If he does not run into the end zone, he's going to have a poor game. So we got him at 19, but again, there is always upside. And then number 20, we got Tua. Again, we got him at 20. He could potentially outperform this. I think we see a little bit more of Tua this game than we did last game against the Rams. They just didn't really need much from the offense. But Arizona is definitely a defense you can score some points on, and they've got a high-powered offense. I expect Tua to need to be throwing this game. So I think we see some more of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that game this week.
Yeah, I think he could be a sneaky DFS play.
Yeah, or he could also not be, but you take chances.
That's right. That's why that's as far as they'll go. A sneaky DFS play. You want to get to the running back ranks here?
Absolutely, yeah. That's next on the agenda.
All right, and so we're going to say that a lot of these are obviously subject to change. Keep an eye on that later in the week. We'll update you with these, but we have the return of Christian McCaffrey this week. He's a full participant in practice. Looks like we're going to see him. They're going to most likely activate him off IR Friday or Saturday. But Dalvin Cook, we got at number 1. How can you not?
Yeah, after last week, he pretty much just gets automatic number 1, especially Detroit. It's not a notorious run-stopping defense. And even if they were, Dalvin Cook looks unstoppable. So, yeah, number 1.
Yeah, number 2, the return of Christian McCaffrey. Like I said, obviously, you've been waiting. If you're a Christian McCaffrey owner, you've been waiting. This is finally the time. Expect big things from Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, we saw week 1 what he can do and that was just light work. And yeah, Christian McCaffrey, the number 1 consensus draft pick, I think, in most fantasy drafts. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Alvin Kamara, number 3. We got him at Tampa Bay. It's a tough matchup, but again, this is half point PPR, and he has such a safe floor in the passing game that he's still going to get used a lot no matter what. So Alvin Kamara, number 3. Next up, we have Derrick Henry. Again, another tougher matchup against Chicago, but it's Derrick Henry, and he has such a safe floor, such high touchdown upside that he's going to find himself in the top 5 every week.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm really counting on him this week. And let's go, Derrick Henry.
Yep, James Conner, number 5. I think
I'm high on James Conner this week. I think he could have maybe not a Dalvin Cook week, but he could be up there in the 30s.
Yeah, he could have a monster game, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. I agree with you. Yeah. I think they're going to get ahead early, and they're just going to be running the ball a lot. And Dallas defense is terrible, and I think that is just going to be a total blowout game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Everything you said.
James Robinson versus Houston. They're going to be relying on James Robinson a lot this week. And it's a very favorable matchup against Houston.
Quarterback.
Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, Houston's 30th against the running back, so favorable matchup. And James Robinson,
yeah, it's Jake Luton for quarterback.
His most volume he's ever gotten this week. So
yeah.
He's a must start for me.
Rookies, you can expect some checkdowns to the running back position. They use him. He's definitely a 3-down back, so very favorable matchup against Houston. I think he's going to be the lone bright spot this week for that Jacksonville offense.
Great.
Josh Jacobs, number 7. I was personally a Josh Jacobs owner. He had over 120 yards on the game, on the ground, over 30 carries, and he got stuffed a couple times right on the 1, which was tough. So we would like to see some more points, but that's how fantasy is. He's getting the volume. It's a favorable matchup against the Chargers, and again, he's pretty much a lock for 20-plus carries.
Yeah, me, just game script wise, I'm hoping for some early Josh Jacobs touchdowns so Herbert starts airing the ball out. I mean, he's going to do it anyway, no matter the score. But I think Josh Jacobs he could have a good game, but also temper expectations because we've seen him put up stinkers in the last couple weeks. Or not the last couple weeks, but 2 weeks ago. So he could perform 7th or he could not. So it just depends how that game goes.
All right, next up we have Chase Edmonds, number 8 versus Miami. Looks like Kenyon Drake, coach did say he's day-to-day, but we don't expect him to play, so it looks like Chase Edmonds is going to be the RB1, and we talked on him again. We're really high on him. He could definitely outperform that number 8. He has super high upside, going to be involved in the passing game, and he's a very efficient. I mean, he's just a good runner. I think he's just much more talented than Kenyon Drake.
I'm not touching that, but yeah, he looks good. I'm playing him. I guess that's higher than I've ranked Kenyon Drake this year. So yeah, I guess if we're going on that.
I mean, just in the passing game alone.
Yeah, absolutely. For PPR, and that is how we rank on this show. PPR, half point. But yeah, I like him.
Yeah, next up
we got CEH. And against Carolina, it's a decent matchup. And it looks like even with Le'Veon Bell, he's going to get a good workload. And he's been very productive on his touches.
Yeah, I still would be a little concerned if I'm a Clyde Edwards-Helaire owner. We talked about him as a sell. I still like that. He's had a relatively decent target share. He's had 4, 4, and 3 targets over the last 3 games, but since they got Le'Veon Bell, he's had 8 carries and 6 carries respectively. So him and Le'Veon Bell each had 6 carries last week in a blowout game. I do expect it. I do expect better days for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but again, only the 2 touchdowns on the year, and I think Clyde Edwards, we might start to see him slip a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes this week. You know what? We'll see.
Yeah. Next up, we have David Johnson's at Jacksonville, and he's just such a safe floor. Getting 15 to 20 touches a game. He's at double digits in half-point PPR formats every single week. Doesn't have the highest ceiling, but safe upside against a favorable Jacksonville defense. Keeps him right there at number 10.
Yep. And yep. There's not much to say about David Johnson. Hasn't had a huge upside, but floor is, it's safe.
Absolutely.
Justin Jackson.
Justin Jackson.
The matchup against Las Vegas. Seems like they're adding a third running back into the mix with Tremaine Pope. We'll, keep an eye on that.
Yeah, but I still think Justin Jackson has high upside. Had 17 carries last week and has had at least 5 targets now in the last 3 weeks. So it's a very favorable matchup against the Rams. Justin Jackson could definitely outperform that number 11.
Agreed. It's, yeah. Like you said, it's a very great matchup.
Yeah.
If there is a back to have out of those 3, it is Justin Jackson.
Absolutely. Aaron Jones next up. We talked about him. Looks like he's going to be playing, but it could be limited. So we got him at number 12. Again, it's Aaron Jones. You play him if he's suiting up.
Yeah, exactly.
And number 14, this is the highest he's found himself, is Damian Harris of the New England Patriots. Is, again, this is a lot about matchups. They're playing the Jets, but Damian Harris has looked really good.
Yeah, and I think he's going to continue to be the guy. I don't want to, guarantee you, because they do have Sony Michel coming back, and they got, Burkhead and White, so there's touches to go around, but Harris, I like this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's now had double-digit carries in 3 out of the last 4 weeks. But, again, he doesn't get used in the passing game. And that's going to limit his upside. So I do think he has a good week this week against the Jets. I'm not going to be surprised if he has another 100 yards and a touchdown. So Damian Harris, I think, with the state of the running back position, is all the way up at 14 this week against the Jets. Next up, Chris Carson. We talked about that. Again, game time decision. And temper expectations if he is playing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a game time decision, I think.
The dreaded game time decision. Yep.
And you know what? We told you DJ Dallas on the waiver wire targets, and that's he got points last week. I wouldn't say he was productive in all his touches, but you know what? Points is production.
Yeah.
So we can't be dwelling on the yards per carry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, if Chris Carson's ruled out, and it looks like he's not going to play, and he's trending down as the week progresses, and we see that Friday practice report. He's not currently ranked right now, but he definitely will be ranked if we find out more about Chris Carson. But right now...
Yeah, and he'll be ranked higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, David Montgomery at Tennessee, and again, just a volume play alone. Looks like Jadeveon Clowney actually for the Titans might be out, so they cut Vic Beasley. Looks like they're without Jadeveon Clowney. Their defense is not good. I do think David Montgomery could have a decent game this week.
I mean, he's their only back. Offensive line is not good. Tennessee is vulnerable to. They gave up good points to running backs for fantasy, and it's a safe start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially on a week with injuries and bye.
Yeah, he's at least 5 targets now, 5 weeks in a row. So super safe floor in the passing game. And while he might not have the most efficient touches, and he hasn't seen, only 2 touchdowns on the year, he did see 21 carries last week, and he is seeing double-digit carries every single week. So pretty much once you get to this point in the rankings, if you're getting passing game and you're getting double-digit carries, you're going to find yourself in that lower-end RB2 category, which right where David Montgomery is at 16. Next up,
Truly.
Antonio Gibson. Washington, they have a pretty good defense. They're playing the Giants. You can expect to see some turnover from the Giants to keep their offense on the field. And Antonio Gibson looks like he's getting involved in the passing game, and I think it's a pretty safe play this week. I can't hear you, Jake.
Said it is now a week where a lot of guys that used to have that bench spot are now must play. So
yeah, and
injuries and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what?
A lot of these guys up our rankings.
They had the bye week 8, but the week before, week 7 against Dallas, he had 20 carries for 128 yards. So I'm feeling good about Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, but that was against Dallas, and you know what? You should have played him then, and hopefully he can do the same against Giants.
Yep. Melvin Gordon finds himself at 18. Only had 8 carries last week. Philip Lindsay only had, I think, 8 or 6. About the same, but again, I do think
they're behind early.
Yeah, again.
And Melvin Gordon got some catches. So
yeah, he had 7 targets for 6 catches. And I think he has a decent floor in the passing game, and I do think he runs. I do think he's gonna see more carries this week.
True.
All right, JaMycal Hasty, and we got him as a start tonight. We got him up at 19.
I guess that's a start. That's San Francisco is a backfield. I don't know exactly what's going to go on that game. Jerick McKinnon. We might see Tevin Coleman. Or did he get ruled out?
Tevin Coleman's out. So it's going to be
Okay.
Jerick McKinnon and JaMycal Hasty. Everyone else is out. So I think for me, San Francisco.
I like them both then.
Yeah, exactly. So we got Jerick McKinnon up at 24.
Green Bay is the best matchup you can have for a fantasy running back.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's totally about the matchup, and I mean, what else are they going to do? They're going to try to establish the run. They know it's their biggest strength and Green Bay's biggest weakness. They don't have a quarterback. Their receiving core is just totally depleted. So JaMycal Hasty up at 19.
Yeah, could even outperform that.
Absolutely. We see the way that San Francisco uses their running backs. Don't be surprised if JaMycal finds himself in the end zone once or twice.
Yeah. I know Trent Williams is out, though, so it might hurt a little bit on the run game.
All right. Next up, Leonard Fournette. And it looks like we've gotten to that point where maybe Leonard Fournette is ahead of Ronald Jones in fantasy now.
It looks like they want to use him more than Ronald Jones. It looks like they're committed to getting him more touches than Ronald Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. He had 15 carries last week, and he played 73% of the snaps, and he had 6 targets this week, 7 targets the week before. So getting involved in the passing game, and I think, again, double digits, like we said, he's getting double-digit carries, and he's getting a decent amount of work out of the backfield in the passing game, and Tom Brady's always going to enjoy throwing to his backfield.
Yeah, but I also don't want you to bank on us saying Leonard Fournette is the new now ahead of Ronald Jones, because you know what, Ronald Jones. I just don't know yet.
It looks like it could be trending that way. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
It looks like it's trending that way, but I'm not going to say it's that.
It could change any
it
week.
could just be giving Ronald Jones, low management, some Kawhi Leonard.
Ronald Jones' snap count has now dropped 3 weeks in a row, and he was out-snapped 74 to 24%. So
did he fumble?
He did fumble, but even so, the week before against the Rams, he only played 43% of the snaps. So
when you fumble, you out of there.
Not against week 7 against the Rams. He did not fumble, or against the Raiders. Sorry. So
I thought you meant against the Giants. Did he fumble?
Against the Giants, he did. Yes.
Okay, that's why Fournette saw more snaps.
Well, no, Fournette has saw more snaps now a couple weeks in a row. That's what I'm saying.
Did he see 73% though?
Who?
Fournette. That was probably his highest, right?
Let me run it back. He saw 56 after his first game back from injury. So outsnapped Ronald Jones 56 to 43, and then now 73 to 24. So it looks, again, like we said, it's Tom Brady. They like to use a lot of running backs. We still have Ronald Jones at 25, but it could change next week if we see a shift.
Indeed. Next up, we got Philip Lindsay at Atlanta. Philip Lindsay's looked good when he's gotten the ball. See how many touches he gets.
Yeah, again, he's not getting double-digit touches when Melvin Gordon's on the field, but week 7 he only got 9 carries, but he averaged almost 9 yards a carry, and then last week he had 6 carries for 83 yards, busted the long run for the touchdown. Saw 3 targets. Again, Philip Lindsay's a player that we all hope gets more volume. But again, he's so talented and it's such a poor defense in Atlanta that even with a limited workload, he has such high upside. Next up, we got
Wayne Gallman.
Wayne Gallman. He looked great against Tampa Bay, busted out some nice runs, had a touchdown. And Devonta Freeman's questionable going into the week. But I think Wayne Gallman has another decent game this week against Washington, the football team. Hopefully he picks it up in the target share. He had 5 targets week 7, and then week 8 last week against Tampa. He only had 1 target. Was for 18 yards, so it was a nice catch and run, but we're hoping that Wayne Gallman gets a little more involvement in the passing game this week.
Certainly.
Matt Breida, 23. He's got that questionable designation. I'm not too interested in the Dolphins' backfield, to be honest, but I think if Matt Breida is a full participant in practice on Friday, could see a decent workload.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested just because, it's a rookie running back. Rookie quarterback. Might catch some passes but it said quote unquote chance he'll suit up on Sunday. So that I don't like that I'm looking for other options at this point.
Yeah, and again, we'll know more, and we'll have updated rankings throughout the week.
Agreed. And then next, Jerick McKinnon. We already kind of touched on that. Green Bay. Like him as a flex this week.
Yeah, but again, It's frustrating as a Jerick McKinnon. This is now 2 weeks in a row. He has had 3 carries for -1 rushing yards. Saw 4 targets for 4 catches last week. So hoping he sees that involvement, which we do think he will with Nick Mullins. But you're hoping that Jerick McKinnon gets a touchdown this week. That's kept him relevant this season with 4 touchdowns.
Yep, indeed. And yeah, hopefully he can get a touchdown for you if you're playing him. I still think he's a flex this week, and I would play him tonight. It's Green Bay, and it's strictly matchup is why I'm so optimistic right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a flex play. But I do think JaMycal Hasty does see more work.
Hopefully for his sake he does. And then next we got Ronald Jones. Talked about him a little bit. And yeah, he's going to get some work. And got him where we got him. And I see we have Wayne Gallman twice, Will.
Yeah, it looks like we got a typo there. We'll move on to DeAndre Swift there at 27. How disappointing was that last week? Was DeAndre Swift's performance?
I'm not really disappointed in DeAndre Swift's performance. I'm more disappointed in what is the coach doing.
Oh yeah, and see
that what was going on.
No, we talked about that, and we told you last week, or at least I was saying, temper expectations. 6 carries for 1 yard. He did only have temper expectations for DeAndre Swift. We got him at 27. Favorable matchup, but again, you're really needing him to touch the ball more than 9 times.
Indeed. And then Nyheim Hines is next. He had a huge game last week. And tough matchup this week, but we have him ahead of Jonathan Taylor.
I do think the tough matchup, obviously Jonathan Taylor, hugely disappointing week. I do think the tough matchup kind of plays into Nyheim Hines' favor, and he'll get, they'll be throwing the ball a lot. And I think Nyheim Hines will get a lot of work out of the backfield in the passing game.
I just want to mention these are aggregate rankings, and I'm higher on Nyheim Hines. I mean, on Jonathan Taylor by a little bit than I am Nyheim Hines. I think we'll have to see. He has a questionable injury. I think that might have affected his performance last week. And if you started him last week and needed big things, sorry. And you know what? I think looking forward, don't give up. Don't sell low on him. If you're gonna sell him for what he's worth. You seen the potential.
Yeah. It's tough to figure out what's gonna happen this week. It's a tough matchup, so I think they're all kind of low end flex plays this week, and our rankings reflect that.
Nyheim Hines definitely has passing upside.
Yeah, absolutely. Le'Veon Bell, number 29, versus Carolina. Carolina, again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has his touches have been going down. We were hoping that Le'Veon Bell would have had a bigger game last week against.
He fumbled, so he stopped getting the ball.
But he's been getting chunk yardage whenever he has been touching the ball. So I do think this is the week that he finds the end zone as a Chiefs player. So Le'Veon Bell versus Carolina.
Super explosive player, can always get into the end zone.
Yeah. Really quick, let me pull up a snap count versus a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, just for reference.
I think it's probably like 70-30 maybe, or 70-15-15, because they still play Damian Williams. So.
Yes, they do still play Damian Edwards. All right, let's see. Last week, Clyde Edwards-Helaire played 50% of this offensive snaps. Le'Veon Bell played 26, was higher the week before, did have 3 catches for 31 yards. And again, I do think I think this could be the week that I see a touchdown. I think that was more about the fumble last week, like you said.
Yep. It stunted his progress that game. And next up is the lowest we have seen him so far. And it's Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, things aren't looking good over there in D-Town.
That's not D-Town. Detroit's D-Town.
We got Cooper Rush. It looks like Cooper Rush may have won the starting. This looks like he may have won the starting quarterback job.
Yeah, nice to know you, Ben DiNucci. And we'll see Cooper Rush probably this Sunday night, it looks like. Or not night, thankfully. This Sunday. And it's against the Pittsburgh defense. So, you know what? Wish him the best of luck. But you know what? He could be out of there as quickly as Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, Andy Dalton came back from the concussion, but he's now tested positive for COVID, it looks like. So actually, sorry, I was just saying Cooper up. It actually looks like Garrett Gilbert might be edging out Cooper Rush in practice for the starting job. Looks like they're now leaning towards Garrett Gilbert. So one of them we'll see.
Nice to know you, Garrett Gilbert, because this may be your first and last game, bud.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not high on Ezekiel Elliott. He has yet to see double-digit fantasy points.
No, and this could just be a disaster of a game.
Yeah, and I just am saying temper expectations, like really temper expectations for Ezekiel Elliott this week, and only start him if you have to. I think there's a lot. I mean, I have Ezekiel Elliott a little bit lower. I have him all the way down at 36. So I would rather start like a Jonathan Taylor or Gus Edwards or, Zach Moss.
For me, it's, yeah. And even there's a likelihood that even above those guys is somebody you have, like Wayne Gallman, you might have grabbed off waivers, or you might see JaMycal Hasty sitting on the waivers right now. And you know what? I'd much rather play JaMycal Hasty against Green Bay than Ezekiel Elliott against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we have Zach Moss. Zach Moss played a great game last week, and he outperformed Devin Singletary, who's been a big disappointment this season. But Zach Moss, and again, this is one of those things that could be trending, and Buffalo's a head-scratching offense when it comes to the running back. But 14 carries last week for 81 yards, only had one target, but had 2 touchdowns. And Seattle's a very favorable matchup. They're a very poor defense. I think Zach Moss, he looks more talented than Devin Singletary, or he at least did last game.
True. I agree with everything. I think I might play him this week. I picked him up off waivers. I've got him right next to Jonathan Taylor in the rankings, and that is my other option. And Jonathan Taylor is questionable and did not perform well and has a very tough matchup. So that might be a decision that I recommend for others. I mean, maybe not, but that's what I'm doing. So
yeah, and again, it's situational. I think Jonathan Taylor might have a safer floor, but Zach Moss, again, we saw 14 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. Yeah, so Jonathan Taylor there at 32. We got Gus the Bus Edwards up at 32, J.K. Dobbins at 34. And I think with Mark Ingram looking like he might be sitting again, it looks like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards things are looking better for J.K. Dobbins. I'll say that.
I think he has higher upside. He's definitely shown he can bust out some bigger plays than Gus Edwards has this year. And you know what? That's always good for fantasy
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
football.
Gus Edwards last week had 16. So in Mark Ingram's absence, Gus Edwards has had 14 and 16 carries respectively, and a touchdown in each of those games. J.K. Dobbins did have 15 carries last week for 113 yards, so was the more talented running back. So it's going to be tough to figure out going forward, but I think both of them see decent volume, and both of them could end up being decent flex plays if Mark Ingram isn't playing.
Yep. And then we got Devin Singletary. Already kind of touched on him. A little disappointing. I think it's the lowest we've had him ranked. And just hasn't performed well. And I like Zach Moss better in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. J.D. McKissic has a decent passing floor against the Giants, so he's at 36. We talked about the Patriots running backs. We just don't really trust Cam, so that's why James White is down at 37.
Tyler Ervin looks to be the second and only other active running back for Green Bay tonight. And he falls at 38.
And I think he could, I do think he could potentially outperform that just because I think he could step into that Jamal Williams role, especially with Aaron Jones limited. But
yeah, and Aaron Rodgers likes throwing to running back, so I think he could end up with some targets. Then LaMichael Pirine against New England. It's a tough matchup. I don't like Jets players for the most part, but it looks like he has the passing upside in that backfield.
Yep, and lastly is Latavius Murray. Might see some goal line work, and I think you could see a couple carries. I
think you can see 12 touches from Latavius Murray.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it for the running backs. Let's get into the wide receivers. Devontae Adams, number one. It's hard not to rank him number one. He has such high touchdown upside. Aaron Rodgers just loves throwing the ball. Allen Lazard is still out and doesn't have Jamal Williams. So,
yep, and yeah, 2 touchdowns last week, and I could see him getting another one this week. He's real good. Number 2, we got Tyreek Hill and the Cheetah against Carolina. It looks like he's going to be a good day for him again.
Yeah, again, DeAndre Hopkins, number 3. These are all guys. It's just undoubtedly you're going to have one of them and you're starting them versus Miami. Great play. Keenan Allen's been just an absolute target PPR monster. Justin Herbert, we're a huge fan of him. And if you have Keenan Allen, you are super happy because he has outperformed his ADP.
Yeah, absolutely. Keenan Allen is a stud right now, and I think it's gonna continue.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Again, we always talk on it's I'll say the only reason I do have Tyler Lockett higher is because I do think DK Metcalf will draw the coverage of Tre'Davious White in that number 1 coverage, but again, number 6. These guys are going to find themselves probably top 6 most weeks, top 7.
Yeah, the Seattle offense is super high powered. I like both those receivers as any given week. Then we got after Metcalf, we got Stephon Diggs at 7, and that's against Seattle. And I think he could have a good game too.
Yeah, he's leading the league in targets. Seattle is just horrible secondary. So expect good things from Stephon Diggs. And again, we really hoping and expecting Josh Allen to kind of get back on track.
Yeah, and he leans on Diggs even when he's not on track. So Diggs will be productive regardless. And we got Allen Robinson next. And he had a productive game last week in New Orleans. And this week at Tennessee, I expect the same, if not more.
Yeah, again, we talked about injuries to Tennessee's defense. In 5 games versus the Titans, Allen Robinson is averaging 7 catches for 110 yards. So expect big
Yeah,
things.
that's great.
I think Allen Robinson's he's a really safe floor in those PPR formats. Adam Thielen, we got at number 9. He's got, obviously very disappointing, but we talked about Kirk Cousins just briefly. We do expect him to be throwing the ball a little bit more this week. Obviously, Dalvin Cook is not going to be scoring 4 touchdowns every week.
I would. You know what? Maybe he does. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't say. Might be right on that, Will.
Yep. Let's see. Next up, we got Terry McLaurin, number 10, versus the New York Giants. He's got such a safe floors, got one of the highest target shares in the league. And, what can you say about Terry McLaurin? You got him. He's such a safe play, and it's a favorable matchup against the Giants.
Yeah, yes, one of the highest target shares in the league. He's amazing skill set, and safe start every week, I think.
Yeah, has had at least 7 targets every single game, and 4 weeks with double-digit targets. So Terry McLaurin got him all the way at number 10. We had Deshaun Watson at number 5, so we got his favorite pass catcher, Will Fuller, all the way up at number 11. Obviously, upside is through the roof.
Whoa,
Through the roof. Upside is through the roof with Will Fuller. And again, he's been getting a really nice target share with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and the floor is solid and sound with Will Fuller. Don't think he didn't get traded, so I think if you had Will Fuller, you would rather seen him on Green Bay. But you know what? It is what it is, and I think he'll have a good week this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Has had now had a touchdown. Obviously, they had the bye week 8, but he's now had a touchdown 5 weeks in a row, and has seen at least 5 targets every single one of those weeks. So Will Fuller all the way up at number 11. Michael Thomas, questionable, number 12. It's a tough matchup at Tampa Bay, but again, we've kind of tentatively ranked him now 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I got to play him this week. I'm hoping that questionable is ruled out. And you know what? It could be really good, or it could be, it could just wait and see. We know what he can do. Let's see what he's going to do.
Yeah, it's again, if he suits up, it's hard to sit Michael Thomas. A.J. Brown up at 13, had a little bit of a dud last week, but the Titans did not play well. I expect they get back on track, and Ryan Tannehill does perform better. And I do think A.J. Brown has a nice game this week.
Yeah, he's going to go up against Fuller, which is a very hard matchup, but he's super talented. And you know what? That is a player I would go after, especially in dynasty leagues. I think he'll be good for years and years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only his second year. Next up, Calvin Ridley. We talked about that with the foot injury. Keep an eye on that. He might end up missing, trending towards playing, but again, wait for those Friday practice reports to come out. But obviously, Calvin Ridley, you're starting if you've got him.
Indeed. And then Robbie Anderson, same thing. Yeah, he's been superb for the first half of the season and the clear number 1 receiver in Carolina.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson up at number 16. He's playing Detroit. Again, we've talked about that Minnesota passing offense upside through the roof with Justin Jefferson. We do expect better things and more passing yards, and that's only going to benefit Justin Jefferson. So, Justin Jefferson, number 16.
Yeah, I have Justin Jefferson on my team. I haven't started him on his good weeks, but I have started him on his not so good weeks. So I'm hoping to start him this week and turn that trend around.
Yeah,
Deontay Johnson next,
Deontay Johnson.
and
He's
is he
been
questionable?
he's been super up or down. It's a tough matchup last week against the Ravens, but I think he gets it back on track. Obviously, it's against Dallas, and they are just terrible. So Deontay Johnson, I think, has really high upside this week.
Yeah, when he's on the field, he's getting a massive amount of the target share, and the Dallas defense is terrible. So safe start.
Yeah, 70.
Next we got
Yeah, sorry, I was
DJ
gonna say
Moore.
he only had 3 targets last week, but week before he had 15, so he'll get back on track.
But that was, you got to take into account the snaps he played. He didn't play that many snaps. last week.
He played
He was out of the game.
77%.
Oh, I thought he was out of the game for a little bit.
77%. Week before he had 75 and had 15 targets. So I do think he gets back on track though. Again, matchup.
Okay.
DJ Moore at KC had a tough game against Atlanta. DJ Moore owners wanted bigger things. Didn't have a catch until like the fourth quarter, third quarter.
It was late.
Yeah. Didn't have a catch until late, but again, I think DJ Moore can get back on track. Kansas City is a defense that, you're going to be throwing against.
Yeah, you got to put up points against them because they're going to have some points. And Brandon Cooks after DJ Moore, he's been efficient, and you know what? I think I'm tempering expectations with Brandon Cooks this week. I got him at 19, but I think I like Marvin Jones better.
Yeah, and again, obviously Marvin Jones will definitely see about Matt Stafford, but Brandon Cooks now at least 3 games in a row now has seen at least 9 targets, so seeing a nice amount of target shares in 2 games versus the Jags. He is averaging 6 catches and 140 yards, so very favorable matchup against the Jags. He's beaten them in the past. Yeah, I mean, week 5 against them, he had 12 targets, 8 catches, 161 yards, and a touchdown. So upside is high, but again, him and Marvin Jones are close, so we'll talk about Marvin Jones quick. Saw 2 touchdowns last week, but obviously we've seen in the past there's super high upside with Marvin Jones. He's going to be the WR1 with Kenny Golladay being out and potentially heading to IR.
Yeah, he's got potential for multiple touchdown games, proven that, and I think he's a safe start this week against Minnesota, who's terrible secondary.
Terrible secondary. Yeah, Jamison Crowder questionable again versus New England. If he suits up, he has a really safe floor, and I'd be happy playing him if it looks like. But we'll keep an eye on that again. Keep an eye on that. Have a backup plan going into the week.
Indeed. And then Chase Claypool, super high upside. Dallas defense is a favorable matchup for him, and I'm got him ranked above Juju Smith-Schuster strictly because of upside.
Yeah, absolutely. Had 9 targets last week. The week before only had 1 target, so it is definitely boom or bust. Has now fumbled, has 3 fumbles on the season, but he's very talented in the limited work he has been getting. It's been really good, so definitely a favorable matchup against Dallas. And speaking of boom or bust, another boom or bust, and we've seen this all throughout his career, is Mike Williams.
Yeah, Mike Williams. I don't know. I think he's going to be more boom this season. I think he's vertical receivers. He likes going for the go route, and I think Justin Herbert is good for that.
Yeah, he likes targeting him deep. Last week, 8 targets, 5 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown. So, a very favorable matchup against the Raiders there. Next up, we got Juju, and it's tough. We got all 3 of these pass catchers for Pittsburgh ranked in the top 24 or 17 through 24, and it could definitely all change in there. So I do think I'm comfortable starting all of them this week against Dallas. It's just tough to say who's going to perform the best.
Yes, I'm starting all of them against Dallas. We'll see when they stop throwing the ball. And just run it.
Yeah.
Or take a knee, or I don't know. I think it's going to be a wild game. Or a very lopsided game.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up, we got Corey Davis, who's been good since coming back from injury and really benefiting from A.J. Brown helping him take some of the defensive pressure off.
Yeah, absolutely. Now seen 10 targets 2 weeks in a row since coming back. Has had a touchdown each of those weeks as well. And again, like you said, A.J. Brown drawing that top coverage is definitely benefiting Corey Davis. Like our ranking show, we do think A.J. Brown gets back on track, but Corey Davis up at 25 against a tough Chicago defense.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown is clear-cut number one guy, so he's probably going to be ranked higher than Corey Davis every week. But Corey Davis is definitely startable just because I like that Tennessee offense. And
yeah, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot with the poor defense. Let's see. Next up, we'll talk about Sterling Shepard. And since coming back, he's had at least 8 targets. Last week had 10 targets, 8 catches. Had the touchdown week 7. So definitely Daniel Jones' favorite target. And him and Darius Slayton are having a hard time connecting. He's missing a lot of deep balls. So I do think Sterling Shepard is a decent play and I think he's beginning to have a pretty safe floor going forward in fantasy.
Yeah, he's PPR. He's got very safe floor. Looks to be the primary receiver.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, Darius Slayton looks like the guy they look for going deep, but the possession guy looks like Sterling Shepard.
Yep. Next up, we got Amari Cooper. I'm going to be honest. When we update these rankings, he might end up slipping a little bit. Did see 5 targets last week, 7 targets for 7 catches the week before. So I do think he does. I do think he sees some targets, but just temper expectations with Garrett Gilbert starting, or maybe Cooper Rush or whoever.
If it's not Andy Dalton, temper expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Next up, Jerry Jeudy. He's all the way up at 28 at Atlanta. We got Drew Lock up at 15. We like Jerry Jeudy this week. We think he's got some high upside there. And again, it's all based on matchups.
Yeah, the big play last week. He's just really great route runner in Atlanta. He's gonna probably go up against AJ Terrell, rookie on rookie, and it's gonna be a good matchup. It's gonna be one to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And next up, Mike Evans down at 29. Looks like Antonio Brown's on the field. He's going to take the field. We're not sure what's going to happen with Chris Godwin. So if Chris Godwin's playing, again, we're not really starting Mike Evans. But again, I'm worried about this. There's a lot of pass catchers. Antonio Brown is just one more into the mix.
Yeah, and Mike Evans, touchdown dependent. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about him in the past. We told you to try and sell him. Next up, we got Christian Kirk coming in at number 30 versus Miami. Good defense, but we talked about Christian Kirk. He's now had 2 touchdowns in each of his last 2 games before the Week 8 bye. So upside is through the roof. Can always bust out a big play. So Christian Kirk's going to be a nice flex play at number 30.
Yep, agree. And then we got the Cousins, Marquise, and Antonio next. Hollywood Brown has been frustrated with his usage, and hopefully he gets more involved. But it's a tough matchup against Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got Antonio Brown
Eagles.
all the way up at 32. We don't know what to expect. He's super talented. We saw in his one game last year he got the touchdown with Tom Brady. So we're not really sure what to expect. So we got him at 32. It looks like he's gonna play though.
I mean, talent-wise, he's one of the best receivers I've seen in the last 10 years. So I'm not worried about his talent. We'll just see how he's being used. He might shoot all the way up once we see him one week.
He might be Tom Brady's favorite target. Next up, we got Mecole Hardman. Again, huge upside. It's Kansas City offense. He's a super high upside play against Carolina.
Yeah, he's a big play guy, and you know what? Just be on the lookout for that. I think with Patrick Mahomes at number one had to put in another chief receiver in the rankings. Next up, we got DJ Shark, who's got the rookie throwing to him this week. See how that goes. But super talented.
Yeah, super talented. But yeah, with Jake Luton throwing him the ball, it could be tough for DJ Chark. So he's all the way down at 34. Darius Slayton, we touched on that a little bit. Been having a tough time connecting on the deep ball with Daniel Jones. But if you watch that, I at least watching that Tampa game, that was the first Giants game I've watched. Darius Slayton's been getting open. Daniel Jones has been missing him. So always big play. A big play away from a good fantasy game is Darius Slayton.
Agreed. And then next we got Cole Beasley for Seattle. Probably not going to have that big a play, but it's going to have a bunch of little plays. And they're going to add up for a safe floor.
Yep. Next up, Nelson Aguilar. Didn't have a catch last week, but that was more due to weather and we think it was all weather. So much more favorable matchup. We expect a lot of points out there. We got Derek Carr up at number 9. So prior to last week,
that was all due to weather. We didn't see any passes go any type of distance.
Yeah, so I think Nelson Aguilar could definitely outperform that 37, as well as John Brown at 38. These are both big, deep threat receivers. John Brown, if Josh Allen kind of gets back on track, we could see a big game from John Brown against Seattle.
Yep, and we got no Midwest weather to worry about this week, so you know what?
Yeah, it was a windy one last week. Devontae Parker, number 39. We really don't know what to expect from Tua still, but Devontae Parker did get the one receiving touchdown. So that is a good sign, I think, in that regard. It was his one catch. And then
only reception.
Yeah. And then Tim Patrick, number 40, very high upside against Atlanta.
Yep, bad defense. Let's move on to tight ends.
Yeah, let's get into the tight ends. Number 1, number 2. Now with Kittle being out, it looks like it's probably going to be Waller and Kelsey every single week. Number 1, number 2, which means Kelsey's going to be number 1 every single week.
And followed by Darren Waller. He's been great.
Yeah,
and it looks like he's just being used a lot.
Yeah, Darren Waller's been phenomenal. But another player who's been phenomenal is Gronkowski. He's finally been getting back on track with Brady.
Yeah, this is the highest had Gronkowski ranked for a couple of years, and you know what? You like to see it. He's
had a touchdown now 3 weeks in a row. Has had at least 4 catches in each of those games, and as at the tight end, that's what you like to see.
Absolutely, that's as consistent as you can get at tight end. It's better than you expect, especially for where you probably drafted him. You're pretty happy.
Yeah. Next up, Mark Andrews, number 4. Been a little disappointing. Been pretty hit or miss this season, but it could be a hit with a tough matchup in Indy. They could be looking his way a little bit more.
They still look his way all the time. That's still Lamar Jackson's go-to target. He just hasn't been hitting in the last couple weeks, but I still think that's who he looks for.
Yeah. It's just in the games where he doesn't score a touchdown, he's you need him to score a touchdown.
Agreed.
Next
but
up,
that's I think that's you can say that with all of Baltimore's receivers.
yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He has touchdown upside, so we got him at number 4. But number 5, we got Noah Fant. Again, this is a really favorable matchup. Drew Lock likes throwing to the tight end. We're favorable. We're high on Drew Lock this week.
Yep.
And he's had Noah Fant has had at least 5 targets every single week this season, and has had at least 7 targets since coming back from injury in the 2 games. So I think Noah Fant could very well find himself into the end zone this week.
I hope so if you're playing him. I like the play though.
Yeah, absolutely. TJ Hawkinson, I think, actually is a really, really good play this week. We see his target share go up every time Kenny Galladay's out. Last week he had 10 targets for 7 catches. Has had four touchdowns on the year, and again, it's a favorable matchup against Minnesota. I think TJ Hawkinson is a very, very good play this week.
Yeah, his target share goes up with Galladay out, and the Minnesota defense is a favorable matchup. Agree with everything. Great play. And then Hayden Hurst, he's got a solid floor for tight ends. Got 50 yards in, I think, 6 or 7 games. So, solid floor and a good play.
Yeah, we got Jonnu Smith, number 8. We're really hoping, I'm a Jonnu Smith owner, really hoping Jonnu Smith gets back on track, but it's a tough matchup versus Chicago. So, but the talent is there.
Absolutely. And the next, Hunter Henry, good matchup against Las Vegas, and hasn't had the target share we thought he might with the rookie quarterback, but you know what? He's still tight end is just you just need somebody who's gonna catch like 4 or 5 passes a game. That's as much as you can really ask for.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Hunter Henry, number 9, Jared Cook, number 10, Tampa Bay. Could bump up a spot or 2 if Michael Thomas is ruled out. His touchdown upside, he always has touchdown upside, but Jared Cook, a decent play there at number 10.
Yep, and then Eric Ebron at Dallas, another Pittsburgh player, and he had a touchdown last week against Baltimore, and Dallas is a good matchup.
Yeah,
So,
it's a great matchup, and he's seen at least 5 targets every single week since week 1. So I think they're looking his way a little more, and it's versus the Cowboys.
Exactly. I'm feeling confident starting him just because of that.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham's got a questionable designation. We'll keep an eye on that. He's down at number 12. It's pretty much at this point in the tight end spot, you're just kind of hoping they get a touchdown.
Absolutely.
Evan Ingram, number 13, tough matchup against Washington. We'll see what Daniel Jones, if they can connect. Robert Tonyan, which kickoff has now started. Robert Tonyan at San Francisco. We think he's, again, top 16 tight end.
Yeah. Yeah. And same with Gesicki and Thomas. Start them if that's the best one available in our rankings. But other than that, I wouldn't suggest it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's get into the kicker and defense ranks to wrap it up. Obviously, Steelers are the number one defense this week. At Dallas, that is just such a favorable matchup against a nobody at quarterback there.
Yeah, and I'm worried for that game. It could just get real ugly the whole time. And next up, Patriots, New York Jets. Just playing a defense against the New York Jets has been a safe play all year, and Patriots there's no one safer than that.
Yeah, Chiefs versus Carolina. Chiefs has been a very productive fantasy defense. They force turnovers. I think this is a good play. Ravens number 5. They're a very talented defense, and Philly Rivers could definitely struggle there.
Yeah, don't forget the football team at number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones, turnover machine.
Yeah, absolute turnover machine. Let's
And
see.
then number 6, we got Texans, which is our dream of the week against a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, very poor defense, but I think this is a week where they force some sacks and a turnover or two.
Last time they played Jacksonville, they had 9 points. So if now it's against Minshew, so if they can get at least 9, that's a safe start for fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. Packers, we told you to start them last week, but we're more confident this week against
San Francisco, and Nick Mullins started quarterback, and with last I heard it was one receiver. I think they probably signed some jabronis.
Yeah, Jordan Reed does look like Jordan Reed is playing tonight, so they do have that as a pass catching option.
There you go.
Well,
And
is there anything else? Titans Chicago.
There's nothing really else I really want to touch on. I think Titans Chicago, the Bears and the Titans could both each create turnovers, and Dolphins definitely a team to go grab. Arizona might not be the best matchup, but if they're not owned in your league, their matchups after Arizona very favorable.
Yeah, we talked about that in our preview show, so definitely if Miami is out there, go get them if you've got the bench spot.
Yeah, and then kickers on the right side of the screen. Take that in, do what you want.
Yeah. Well, for me, there's nothing really else I need to go through. Like I said, folks, you can follow me on Instagram at MPLS_outdoors. These rankings are subject to change. We will most likely be going live again with updated rankings later in the week. So keep an eye on that. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. We're definitely consistently putting out videos, giving you guys lots of content. So I hope you enjoyed. Above me,
I'm Jake the Rookie, and that's THA, like Across the Plane, which is our full length sports podcast. And give that shit a follow. And you know what? Catch us Sunday. We're going live.
absolutely.